Thanks for tuning in, guys. This episode is brought to you by Old Man Copper, Smoke Eater, Mustache Wax. Literally smells like a freaking house fire. Keeps you thinking about jobs all day long. Use discount code COPPER, COPPER, 10% off. Good dude. Check him out. Instagram, Facebook, website, oldmancopper.com. Thank you. All right. Welcome back, everybody. I had the privilege to sit down with Cody Miller ×2. So the first one ever to come back on the podcast, but it's a little bit different. So for the guys that haven't had a chance to listen to, please, before you listen to this one, go back and listen to Ladder 5, Memphis, Tennessee, Mayday. And that's his call. So I had the privilege to sit down with Cody Miller again. He's got 8 years in Memphis, right? And that's really what we're talking about right now. He's assigned to Truck 5. He's the engineer. So long story short, hopefully you guys have listened to it. Cody had a hell of a fucking call. Him and his brother were on the roof. He falls through. There's a mayday that goes on. Listen and watch the episode. But what we're calling this right now is After the Mayday. So what happens when we all know we have issues after severe calls, but most of us, thank God, don't have the opportunity or the unfortunate opportunity to go through what Cody had to go through. So thank you, my brother, for coming on. And I really just want to talk to you about, we already talked about the call, but let's talk about the aftermath. So let's rewind a little bit. The Mayday happened, right? You refused to go to the hospital. Your wife eventually found out because it was on the fucking news, right? She knew something was wrong. So, dude, let's march it out from basically day one. You go home, you're a fucking mess. It's on the news. It's a big deal. How does this affect you and your wife, dude?
Yeah, I mean, one, thanks for having me back. I think that this is an important episode. I think that this is a side of it that not a lot of people obviously don't go through this, but then I think it gets lost in the minutia with guys that they're just like, hey, it happened. He's back at work. He must be fine.
Yeah, everything's good, right?
Yeah, and you know, obviously EMS runs, fire runs, whatever. We see bad stuff all the time. So, you know, this can touch a lot of different avenues of the job in general. But to answer your question, it's been a process. I mean, you know, starting from when I got back to the firehouse that morning, basically up to this point right now, that has been at the front of my brain every single day since April 28th. So there has not been a day that I haven't woken up and I've thought about it at some point. You know, it puts into perspective what's important and what's not, who's important and who's not. And, you know, again, trying not to be dramatic about it, surviving a near-death experience, like there is so many different things that you try to normalize or rationalize or put sense to, you just can't. You know, I think the biggest thing is, what is my purpose, right? Why am I here? What am I supposed to do? And I might not ever have that answer, or maybe I will, but it's not going to come in 6 months, right? It's not going to come maybe a year. I don't know. So the biggest thing for me and my wife and my kids is just trying to be better, right? Like, I kind of feel like I've been given a second chance to do things a different way. And then you do the same things, right? You make the same mistake at home. You load the dishwasher wrong, or you forget to do something. And it's like, shit. Like, why can't I just figure this out? You know? So that's definitely something that I don't think anybody thinks about after a situation like this. You know, Ainsley, my wife, definitely, she has dealt with it so good. I mean, you know, never asked me not to go back to work, never questioned anything I ever did. She's never made me feel a certain way about it, but I definitely think deep down inside, she thinks about it just as much as I do. You know, when you're
Real
about
quick, Cody,
that,
at any point with your wife, I know, and she sounds like an amazing woman. She sounds like my wife, because she would do the same thing. She's like, hey, whatever makes you happy. Before we get to what, like, she was thinking, was there any point after, right? Was it like, hey, like, I don't know. I'm just kind of referring back to myself. Like, I used to think I was invincible until I had a almost a near-death experience, not nearly as bad as yours, but was there any point where you're like, bro, maybe, or you're talking to your wife and having a serious conversation of maybe I shouldn't be a fireman anymore?
Not once.
Really? Okay, good.
Not for me. I've never even considered getting off the truck. It's not, that's not who I am. I know that I went through this for a reason. I know that I survived this for a reason. I was where I was supposed to be, and it happened. But that doesn't change the love that I have for this job. And as much as, it's what I do, and when I'm home, and it's the same for mostly all of us, right? Yes, it's our career, but at some point, it is who you are. I mean,
If
it is.
you're a fireman, my opinion, because if you're a real fireman, it is part of who you fucking are,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
agree. Thank you for fucking saying that.
It is the thread of who you are. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, volunteer, career, big, small, metro, urban, whatever. It's who we are. And the thought of not being in the firehouse, the thought of not being around my friends and my brothers and the guys that I went through this with, including Bo, who unfortunately no longer works with us, that thought is more painful than what I went through. So no, never even considered it. And I'm not going to consider it.
Good. And that's amazing. It's something that might sound awkward to some people because you're like, hey, you have 8 years on the job. This happened by the time that we're talking right now, 5.5 months ago. So we're talking less than a year. So it's raw still.
Yeah.
And it's in most people, normal people, which we are not, right? Normal people would be like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change my path, either go back to school, pick a different job, whatever the case might be. So for you, like, why? I feel the same way, but like, tell the audience why you feel so passionate about, hey, I want to stay being a fireman. And what do you want to do from kind of here on out, especially with your experience?
The only way to explain it is the love of the job. I love this job. I love everything about it. I mean, the camaraderie, the brotherhood, the jokes in the games, the something different every time you leave the house, right? But it's so much deeper than that if you don't understand it, you're not going to understand it. We all know that when you try to connect with somebody who's not in the fire service, they don't get us. They just don't get it. They don't get our sense of humor. They don't get our skewed sense on humanity, and think that we're these calloused, coarse, emotionless robots, which some of us are, and I get that way too. But that comes with the years of seeing terrible shit. But this job has given me everything that I have. It's provided a very lucrative life for me, and I've been able to be at a lot of events that some people wouldn't be able to be at with 9-to-5s. And I've missed a lot of things that people wouldn't miss on 9-to-5s, but that's the sacrifice we make to do this job. And at some point, this instance more than others, if you do this job long enough, you're going to have to decide what part of you you're willing to give up. Because it's going to take a piece of you, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally. You're going to have to part with a piece of who you are. It's going to change. But with that comes all of the rest of the stuff that you gain. So it's a payoff, in my opinion. Like I said, I've been afforded the opportunity to watch my kids grow up and be at certain things and be with my wife on special days and just be here on a day that she needs me to be here. And I've also had to sacrifice a bunch and miss a bunch of stuff because I got to go. That's the job.
And dude, I love it because I get asked, I guess, a lot, especially in the position I am right now. They're like, hey man, like, we need some motivation. Can you come out real quick? Fuck yeah, I'm in, right? Whatever it is. So, and I actually want to read this to you real quick because this is a speech I gave today. And this is something that just like shit pops in my brain, but it's always related to the fire service. And it's like this things because again, like you're saying, like, I fucking love this job, but we're talking about the mental aspect of this job, mostly about what your incident and what caused with you. But like you said, the exposure is big. Like, and I feel bad because my wife is one of the sweetest sweetest ladies I've ever met in my life. And I feel bad sometimes because I'll say a statement like, people suck, right? And you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
every fireman on here listening understands, because we see people at their worst, their best, their worst, whatever. And sometimes we get jaded, like you're saying. But again, because of the love of the job, like, so this is what I was thinking about. And when things come to me, I'll just like write them down and say, get up, right? Society has made you soft. Nobody's come to save you. It has to be you. You think this job, the public, the fire cares about your pain? Fuck no. Every excuse, every reason to quit is just weakness trying to chain you to the ground. Get the fuck up. You have two choices: stay weak and broken, or drag your ass up and fight for the life and the profession that we dream about, what we're experiencing right now. No one is going to hand it to you. Nobody is going to hand you success. You have to fucking take it. You want respect? Earn it. You want to change? Build it. You want freedom? Bleed for it. It will hurt. It will break you. This is what we're talking about, right? If you stay down, you're dying slowly. So you get the fuck up, wipe off the blood, wipe the tears, remind the world why you're here for the long run. It's up to you to get after it every second of the day like it's your last. What will they say about you when you're gone? What's your story that you're going to write? Is it written by your actions, your work ethic, your desire never to quit, getting the job done? Be strong, be relentless, be important. Show them, no matter what, the challenge that seems impossible, it is coming. You can accomplish it. Now remember, tell them you are coming and hell's coming fucking with you. Now get the fuck up and get back to work. But that's like the shit that goes on in my head. And the reason why I wanted to read that to you is exactly what you're saying. Like, you have been through fucking hell. You literally fell into a roof full of fire, and you should not be here talking to me today, but you are. What is your passion? Like you said before, and I already knew it, but I wanted to hear you say it. Like, why the fuck are you still a fireman? You're like, because I fucking love the goddamn job, and it means something to me, and I have a purpose. And that's what I'm trying to like read to the guys right now. Like, yeah, it is bigger than Steve, than Cody. It is the goddamn American Fire Service. If you're in Tennessee, if you're in Arizona, it doesn't matter. The boys, the hard chargers, the dudes are getting after it, no matter where they are in the country. So, with all that said, dude, so you had a traumatic experience. It affected every aspect of your life. So, like, tell the audience, how do you get, I hate to say over it, because I don't believe anyone ever gets over something like that. I got burned in 2013. That was traumatic for me. And I still remember every second of it. So I don't believe we ever get over it. But if you can kind of tell the guys and the girls listening, like, how do you, let's say this, how do you move forward from something that's extremely traumatic, but more importantly, how do you twist it to either make it a learning experience, make it a positive outcome, or more importantly, my favorite, influence at least one other dude so they have the knowledge and it doesn't happen to them. And again, your incident was an accident, but we can still learn from shit like that. So yeah, roll it out if you don't mind.
Yeah, man. So the easiest way to say it is one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And that is pretty much how I've approached doing the job in general since that day. It was 3 weeks from the date that happened to I had my first fire and had to get back up on a roof and cut another hole.
How did that feel?
It's fucking terrifying.
Well, yeah, I bet it was.
So it's nighttime. The house looks very similar, almost the color, everything is almost
Ugh.
identical. There's two houses going at the same time.
Okay.
Throw the ladder on the Bravo side, and I get up. There's fire coming out of the gable. So I know it's in the attic.
Yep.
It's the steep pitch. My outside guy hands me up a roof ladder. We put the roof ladder up, and one step at a time. You sit on the roof, you take a step. Sit on the roof, take a step. And is that how you normally do it, slow like that? No, it's not. But that's how I did it. And my heart rate was about 1 million. I was shaking.
I bet.
I was terrified. I was overly cautious to a point to where once I got up to where I was comfortable, we got the job done. We cut a hole, we got down. I got off that roof. I went to my knees. I took my helmet off, took my mask off, and my BC was there, Battalion 1, Chief Barry, and he probably doesn't even remember this, but it meant so much to me. He walked up, he pats me on the shoulder and says, "Are you good?" I said, "I'm good." He said, "Great job," and walked away. But that action of just walking over to me and understanding, even if he didn't in the moment understand what had just happened, for me was monumental, because one step at a time, I got back to it and got the job done. You know, I want to make Ainsley proud. I want to make my kids proud. I want to make myself proud. To make myself proud, I knew eventually that call was going to come, and I was going to have to get back up on the roof and cut a hole, because that's my job, and the rest of the guys on scene are depending on me to do that. So yeah, I was pretty fucking stoked when I was done. I was gassed, but I was pretty proud of myself.
Oh yeah.
And then we've had a couple other fires. I've cut a couple more holes, and it gets easier every time, but it's still right there. But if you are truly in this and you truly want to stay in this, and you go through an incident like this or whatever, any incident that causes you to second guess what you're doing, put one foot in front of the other. Working on your marriage, working on yourself, getting out of bed in the morning, right? Just one foot in front of the other, man. That's how I got through it. Obviously, going to see a therapist once a month helps a lot. Talking to my wife about it, talking to the guys about it. You know, on top of all of the anxieties of, hey, I got to do this job again, there's other stuff too. Like, do the guys at the station still trust me? Do they still believe that I can do this job? Do they still feel comfortable being on a roof with me?
Did you honestly feel like that you were second guessing, that they were maybe guessing your skill set?
Yeah, absolutely. And I asked them straight up. And obviously they all said, "No, man, it's not like that." But
yeah,
but it's a responsibility to myself and to them to let them know that if that is happening, tell me, and we can work through it together. Because I need to know.
Yeah.
I need to know for me that's how you feel, but you need to know for you that that's how you feel. And I can promise you I'm going to prove you wrong.
Dude, I love it.
That you don't need to worry about me. Every single morning and at night when, you know, because we'll swap out the guys on the unit, the ambulance got to get on the truck and vice versa. Whoever's riding behind me, I will find them and ask them, what's my rule? And since that day, when I've come back, the guy riding behind me, I have one rule, and the rule is don't let me die. It's a joke, but it's serious.
It's a good rule, though.
Just to let them know that I acknowledge what happened. I work through it every day. But, you know, it's important to consider those aspects of it of, you know, hey, this thing happened, and while I couldn't control it, do these guys think that it was my fault? Do I need to worry about that, right? Do I need to worry about them second guessing what they're doing because they're second guessing what I'm doing? You know, is me being on scene because it's me and what happened to me going to change the chief's tactics? To change his mind on cutting a hole because it's me? Is he going to call a second truck because it's me? And, you know, I have never worried about somebody trusting whether or not I can do my job, because I know I'm good at what I do. I know my job and I know it really well and I do it. But when you have an incident like that, you know, everybody in the frickin' world knows about, you can't help but to think that the guy who's in charge of 24 people on scene, you've got that little star over your head that says, nah, this happened that one time. Do I need to watch him?
Right.
And yeah, maybe they do need to watch me, because mentally maybe they need to watch me, right? Make sure I'm good after we're done. But I will prove to you through my actions that you don't need to worry about me. I'll come back better than I was before I fell through, and I'll continue to get better, because I owe that to my family. I owe that to them. I owe that to myself. But, you know, those are the mental trials that I go through every day. Those things just constantly just turn and turn and turn and turn and turn. You know, on top of the fact that this house that we fell through, is in our first due. We drive past it all the time. So I
Probably
see
going
it
to the
everywhere.
grocery store, right?
Right. I mean, we see it, we make a run to
Yeah.
the school across the street and there it is, right? So there's always a constant reminder of, hey, this thing happened. What are you going to do? It's the universe's way of saying, what are you going to do? You going to
Yeah.
quit? You're going to give, because that's easy.
Yeah. Oh,
Quitting
yeah.
is easy. Walking away from this is easy. Transferring off the truck is easy.
Yeah.
Nothing worth it is ever, ever easy. And again, working on your marriage, if it's worth it, it sure as hell ain't going to be easy.
Yeah.
I'm not the perfect husband. I wasn't before. I haven't been since. But I'm trying. I try every single day to be what she deserves me to be. This incident has really helped me realize, like, I don't have anybody else,
Hmm.
right? Like, I know I do have other people, but at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, you know, when the lights are off and everybody's in bed,
Yeah.
she's all I got. And why am I still alive? Shit, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I am. And I owe it to her to be alive and to be here and do better. Again, I try, but it's so funny how people don't want to talk about things, or they don't want to bring a certain thing up, or I don't want to hurt your feelings. I mean, I'm not made of porcelain. I'm not going to break.
Yeah.
I was tough before this. I'll be tough after this. We've talked about hard stuff before. Just because this situation involves me almost getting killed doesn't change anything.
Yeah.
Guys make jokes about it and whatnot. I mean, we talked to recruits yesterday and we were talking about stuff, and, they're like, yeah, some people just take the easy way off the roof and go straight through the floor. And I was like, yeah, man, it's, firemen, we're notorious for nothing is safe, right? Everything is free game pretty much. So, I love it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be recovering as well as I am if it wasn't for the way I'm treated at the house,
Yeah.
at the firehouse. My wife makes jokes about it. Every night I'm at work before we go to bed, she says, don't fall off anything.
Don't fall through anything.
It's just these friendly little reminders of, hey, I'm thinking about you and I care about you. And hey, this thing happened. Let's not turn a blind eye to it. Let's look at it and let's be stronger than what happened.
Yeah.
It happened. It happened to me, and it's just a thing that happened. It does not define who I am. I make my own rules. The universe doesn't make my rules. I'll write my story. I might not write it all by myself. There might be some little things along the way still that happen that I can't control, but I will control how I come back from it. And everybody can do that. I am no different than any other person in the world when it comes to surviving something like this or any other incident, right? My mental toughness does not make me better than the next guy or girl. It just means that I have experience dealing with some shit that maybe I wasn't so mentally tough through at one point in my life. And I had to learn how to be mentally tough to get through that. Everybody can learn that skill, and it starts with talking about it. Even if it's just to yourself in the mirror, talk about it. Question yourself. Look at your tactics. Look at what you did. Could you have done something different? You have to be able to admit to yourself when you should have done something different. Hundreds of times throughout my career, life in general, I should have done a lot of freaking things different. If you can't admit that to yourself, you're already beat. If you can't hold yourself accountable, looking at yourself, you're already beat. Sometimes you didn't do anything wrong. Those are the times that it's good to say, I was right. I did everything right. And then you can start to move forward, But they say about all this other stuff, the first step to getting over a problem is admitting that you have one. So the first step to overcoming any mental challenge that you have in this job is admitting that you are in fact dealing with a mental challenge. And that is not easy for us type A personalities to do. We hate to say we have a problem. We hate to ask for help. Unfortunately, you are going to continue to go through things where you got to ask for help. And that's okay. There might be some old salt dog out there listening to this saying, what a sissy, right? Maybe. Call me what you want. I know that I'm not. I don't really care what you think. But I bet if we sat down and started to really go through some shit that you went through in your career, I bet you realize you need some help. And that's okay. If that's what I can get out of doing this, then I've done what my purpose is. You know?
So Cody, let me ask you a question, because you're pulling on some of my heartstrings right now. So I used to think that I had a superpower, and actually I briefly talked about it with Captain Brad Schriefer many episodes ago, and we had talked a little bit offline about him and what he went through. But so I used to think that I had a superpower. So whatever happened on the job, in life, whatever the case might be, if it was negative, I could bury it deep, deep, where if you gave me enough time, it actually never happened. Like, as sick as that might sound, it never happened. It wasn't even a memory. And I enjoyed that. After a ton of years on the job, shit ton of calls, and then the divorce, realizing that, shit, maybe I'm not kind of dialed in, went down the therapy route, right? Just exactly what you're talking about. I went more intensive than you did, literally. Like, it was a outpatient intensive because I was at my wit's end, but they had taught me all these skills. So I'm thinking I'm pretty good. I take all my time off work to get my therapy in. So went through all my modalities with therapy. Everything's good. And then I run I shouldn't say the call, but the call for me that kind of tipped me over. The crazy thing, I hate to even say it like this, it wasn't a bad call. And when I say a bad call, as in gore-wise, from looking at it, a young teenager had died. It was an auto accident. She got T-boned. Unfortunately, the truck that hit her was a fucking old fucking Bronco, all steel, just plowed into her butt. Body intact, no bleeding, literally internal decap. So we all know what that means. It's period, the end. But for some reason, she had a skateboard in the car, which reminded me of my daughter. She was about the same age. I think at that point it was like 7th grade. And it was the first time ever in my entire life. And that was after I'd already relocated to Arizona. So I'm talking like probably 15 years on the job at that point. And it fucked me up.
Yeah.
If I didn't say a fucking word. We get back to, right? And like I said, it wasn't bad. No blood, no nothing like that. We get this girl loaded up in the ambo. We ride in. We're fucking doing everything we can. It does not work out. We all knew it was not going to be a good outcome. And normally, as we all know, and the guys and girls that listen to this podcast, we deal with those traumatic calls, and they're not as big of a deal as they are to the regular public because we are exposed to them a lot. But for some reason on that day, it really hit me hard. We go back to the house. At that point, my captain was trying to do the right thing. Quick little thing around the kitchen table. Hey, you got a problem? You got a problem? You got a problem? No, we're good. Literally in that speed. Hey, you good? You good? You good? All right, we're good. We're back in service. And I didn't say a fucking word. I was not good. Not fucking good at all. To the point where then I was so mad and so upset that when I got off shift the next morning, I called my therapist and said, hey, I need an emergency meeting, right? I come in that day and I come in ready to fucking fight. Literally, I open the door and I say, you ruined my life. You ruined my fucking career. Fuck you with your stupid ass shit, right? And to the point where they are grabbing me and going, Steve, and they are throwing me in another room with like 3 other dudes. And again, I was wrong 100%, but I was angry and I was upset and I was pissed off because my superpower of being able to bury shit and never think about it was now gone, because they gave me the healthy tools, and that point had made me angry because what I've always done worked. And when I say I've always done, I'm divorced, I'm broke, I'm in debt, but this works.
Right. It works.
Anyone from the outside would be like, you're a train wreck, dude, right? But in my brain, I got it all together. I'm a fireman. I'm a badass fireman. I'm good. Right. And I was angry, very angry. And again, I was wrong. And thank God they got me calmed down and went through the whole process with me. But with all that said, like, what would you tell guys? Like, how do you get over? And I know you can't get over it, but you said, hey, bro, one step at a time. Like, I get that. But for us, for the guys on the job, what would be the first step for the dude struggling? He's had to call, right? He's going through divorce. He's broke. He's in debt, whatever the issue is. And he goes like, hey, Cody, bro, I'm fucking struggling. Or more likely, you recognize that he's struggling because he's not going to say shit.
Right.
What do you tell that guy? Because you've been through the worst experience ever and you're here. So, and you're still dealing with this less than fucking 6 months ago. So what do you do with those guys? Can you relate? Just tell the audience, brother.
Yeah. I mean, look, I've had things that made me a train wreck before this incident even happened, right? Like this is just a bigger thing that's happened in my life. I've been self-destructive. I've made bad choices, and I'm not blaming those things on anybody but myself, but I've been there. But like I said, the most important thing is that we have got to get better. When somebody says, "Are you good?" say, "No, I'm not." No, that is the first step. You've got to learn to say no to yourself. Can I go? Yeah, I can. Can I get back on the truck? Yes, I can. Should I? No, I shouldn't. That night, when I came out of that house, I was...
You should have went home, dude.
Dude, I should have been done.
Yeah.
I should have been done. And people tried to tell me that I should have been done. You know, the administration...
Yeah, but you're going out the side door of the fucking AMBO going, I'm going back to work to pull ceiling.
Right. Because I'm good, right? I'm a fireman. I'm good. I'm tough. I'm
badass fireman. Fuck yeah. Right. Hell yeah.
I wasn't good. I put myself at risk. I put them at risk by not understanding that I'm not good. I don't really know why I'm not good yet, but I know that I'm not good. So, you know, we all collectively have to get better at saying, I'm not. And when you go home and your wife says, hey, are you good? You got to say, no, I'm not good. I'm not good.
Yeah.
Whether it's work related or whether it's home related or whatever else, like it's okay, man. It's your wife. It's your family. She's going to understand. She might be upset with you, but she understands. Like everybody gets to deal with these differently. You know, we can't tell somebody how to handle us saying we're not good. And unfortunately, if the response is anger or disgust or whatever it may be, right, then we're going to feel a certain way. And now we're not going to open up anymore. And now we're going to just push it down and fill that pit. But you can't do that. Let them cope the way they have to cope with you saying I'm not good. That's unusual for us to come home and say I'm not good. We're always good.
Yeah. You're right. We're always good. My wife says it all the time. I'm like, and she knows I'm stressed. And she's like, how you doing? I'm like, I'm good. She's like, why are you lying to me? You know, but that's what we do because we're fixers. We're good, bro. We're good. I'm fine.
Right. You know, think of it like in the movie Superman, right? When the general public sees him get beat and they're like, what? You know, we're their Superman. We're our own Superman. So when we say we're not good, that is shocking to people who always see us as good.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Like everybody has to deal with us not being good in their own way. But if we don't deal with it and we just keep saying we're good, you're not ever going to be good. You know, you got to get through it. And the first, like I said, man, the only way to get through it is to say, I'm not good right now. It doesn't mean I'm a piece of shit. It doesn't mean I can't do my job. It doesn't mean I'm not happy. It just means that I'm dealing with some stuff that I don't even really comprehend yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been so blessed in my not dealing or getting over with it, but moving forward after this, that, you know, my wife is as supportive as she is, that she is as understanding as she is, that she is literally right there with me with this. I think one thing that I said to her that definitely, you know, kind of solicited a response was, at no point was I giving up. And when I said that, obviously I meant at no point was I giving up in the attic or in the house. Like, I wasn't going to stop fighting. I wasn't going to stop trying to get out. But that carries through to what I'm dealing with now. At no point am I going to quit. I'm not going to stop trying to fight all of this shit that's in here and in there and over there. And I'm not going to stop. Because, one, I'm not a fucking quitter. But two, what does that say to her? Right? I'm not going to give up on myself. I'm sure as fuck not going to give up on her. She's never given up on me, ever. And God knows there's been hundreds of times where she should have given up on me and walked the fuck away. And she never did. And I'm not going to do it now or ever. So, you know, whoever that person is for you, whether it's your wife or your kids or your best friend or your mom or your dad or your sister, whoever it is, you know, don't give up for you, but don't give up for them. Push through it. You're going to be all right. Everything will be all right. Whether it means you get out of the job or you stay where you're at or you do something different, it's all going to work out. But the key term in that phrase is work. Shit's not going to come easy. You're going to have to work it out, but it will work. But you got to work. You got to be willing to do the work.
It's hard, man. It's hard to do the work, right? Especially for guys like us that, like you said, we're always good. We don't have to do the work because we're good.
Right.
We're good at our job. We're good at life. We're good at being a husband, a dad, no matter what our mistakes are, but we're the head. We're the alpha. This is, people come to us when they have issues. And I remember, I would say probably later, but I promised myself, that would be a better statement to say after my story, that the next time I ran into an issue or a call that really bothered me, or even something I feel would be a traumatic call to anybody on the crew, I promised myself I would be the first one to speak up, even if it actually didn't bother me, but to talk about it at the kitchen table. Hey, man, that was a fucked up call. And not our normal, bro, that was a fucked up call.
Right.
Like, hey, man, like, I'm actually a little fucked up. Being in the position I am now in the right front seat holds a little bit more weight, but anybody in any seat on that truck, I encourage them, like, man, if they can just speak up at that kitchen table right after the call and be like, you know, even if it's not that bad, be like, that was actually fucked up. Like, it was, man, that hurt my heart. That's it. Right? That's not showing weakness. That's just saying that you're a goddamn good person. That says, like, that is, we're not supposed to see that shit on a regular basis, but hey, man, maybe that would encourage the next guy, which would have been me in that situation, be like, oh shit, it's okay to say it's, you know, hey man, I'm actually not doing good because that reminded me of my daughter, my mother, whatever their thing for me. Hey, for some reason, because of the skateboard, because of the age and because of how she looked, I put my daughter in there and I've never done that before. And it fucking destroyed me. Right. And it's like, and I talked to, like I said, I talked to Brad Schriefer about that because I was struggling with it. And he gave me the best advice ever. And I never thought about this. And I will give this out to as many people as I can. He goes, because we do that. He goes, it is not your daughter. And I was like, well, I know that. He goes, it's not your fucking daughter. He goes, you know what? He goes, you get back to the house and you call your daughter and you tell her you love her. And that's it. And you hear her voice. And you tell her those words of affirmation because you have to set some reality in. And it is not my kid or it is not my wife, whatever the scenario is. But again, it's like, we talk about it more than we've ever talked about it, but we still don't talk about it enough. Absolutely. And especially on the ends of like what you experienced, because back in the day, and when I say back in the day, it could be a fucking year ago, your exact scenario, you could be on the show going, yes, this is what happened. I fell through the roof. I almost fucking died. I'm the goddamn fucking man. I'm fireproof. I'm indestructible, right? Right. And be flexing and everything else. But you're doing the right thing because we say that and the guys coming up are like, Cody had the worst experience ever. And he's literally flexing going, I'm bulletproof. I want to be like that guy. I'd rather him be like, I want to be like Cody because he's raw with me. Hey, man, that fucked me up, which it should. If it doesn't, we are a little mentally ill anyway, but bro, the impact and I always call it the thermal insult when we're talking about like sitting in a fire room, but the mental insult that this job gives us is like no other. They say the average person will have 3 to 4 traumatic events in their entire life. Us, right? The guys and girls on the job, 400. No one, the human body is not prepared or designed to accept that.
Right.
And now you have a guy like you that literally doing a good job, nothing wrong, falls into the roof, into a into a fireball, and because of his training and his awareness and everything else, is able to make it out with his guys is unheard of. So it's just like, you gotta almost sit back and be like, bro, like I got a bigger purpose in life. And even if your biggest purpose is only sharing your story, which I don't believe it is, I think it's way beyond that. But it's like, what would you tell those guys coming up besides sharing your story? And most guys don't want to be like, oh, it's okay. You're allowed to talk. It's okay. What do you tell the guys? And when I say, you know what I mean by when I say that, like the hard chargers, what do you tell the guys when we come across shit like this with our old lady, with our shitty calls, our fucking near-death goddamn experiences? Like, how do we get over that? Like, what is your opinion?
So I kind of mentioned this in the last episode, right? We ended with me saying the word ego.
Yeah, you did. That's what you wanted to change in the fire service.
Right. So we have a big problem with ego getting in the way, and that's at work and at home. And so put it aside and have the courage, right? And you hear the word courage and you think of 9/11 and climbing the stairs and doing courageous shit. Yes. Also, have the courage to say, I'm fucked up. It takes a big person to say to anybody else, but especially people who have been through these experiences with you, you know, that you live with a third of the year, that you respect and you emulate in your career a little bit, to look at them and say, man, I'm having a rough time. That is more courageous than, you know, making a grab or doing some cool shit on the truck or the pumper or whatever, right? Like, having the ability and the awareness and the courage to say, I am struggling, A, B, C, or D, that is going to motivate the younger guys more than flexing and saying, look at me, look what I did. I'm so cool, man. I've got balls of steel. I need a wheelbarrow to push them into work, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, no. You know what's cool? Cool is walking out of, you know, the gates of hell and saying, whew, man, that's going to be in here for a while. How can I start to get that out? How can I do that? I think one of the coolest things that I've had that's really helped me just kind of process it, Ainsley. So one of the guys on the ambulance, the first hole I cut after the incident, he got a picture of me on the roof, and, you know, he sent it to me. And, he was like, you know, man, when I walked up and I saw you on the roof, I knew, he's like, I comprehended that moment. Like, I knew what I was watching. And I felt like I needed to save that in time. And I am forever appreciative of him for taking that picture. And I'm sure he'll hear this and he knows exactly who he is. And that picture means a lot to me. I sent it to Ainsley, and maybe 3 weeks ago, a package shows up at the door, and it's a pretty big package. And, you know, I was at work, so I come home and there's 2 pictures sitting on the coffee table, and they're canvassed. One of them is the Bravo door in which they pulled me out of. And one of them is the picture of me cutting a hole on my first fire after that incident. And I don't even think that she knows how much those pictures mean to me and what they've helped me, you know, just kind of understand. And they're already up here on the wall, you know, they're on either side of each other. And like, that little act of kindness or whatever it was, nobody else in the world wants to remember the hell that they came through to still be alive. But her taking the time to get those made for me and put them on the wall so I walk past them every time I come through the house, right? Like, it shows you where I was and what I came out of. And it also shows you what I'm made of and how resilient and resiliency gets you through what you've been through.
That's deep, bro. Yeah. I mean, like you got me feeling fucking lots of emotions on that one. That's amazing. Dude, you got a good fucking woman at home, man. That's a good wife.
And I'm sure that having those on the wall helps her process it a little bit. And, every once in a while we catch ourselves looking at the picture of the Bravo door that, I'm looking at it right now. There's fire from top to bottom and side to side coming out. And the fact that that's the room that they pulled me out of, and I'm sitting here right now without a bandage or a burn or anything is crazy. Right? But then right next to it, with me up on the roof, me and Rhett cutting that hole, like I said, everything will work out. But the steps that I took to get from the Bravo door back to that roof, and then the steps I took to get up on that roof to that spot where we cut that hole, like the meaning of those, those are big. That's a big deal for me. And I just appreciate that she saw the need and the importance to commemorate those and put them on the wall.
It's huge, dude. Like, and especially for guys like us, I got burned in a flashover, and the background of my podcast website, which nobody fucking goes to, it's for me, right? Is the house that's fully involved that I fucking literally came tumbling out of. It doesn't mean anything to anybody except for me. Like, right. It means a lot to my lieutenant at the time, because I've talked to him now. He's a chief of another department, right? But we've talked candidly about it, right? And it was just at that moment and that time, just like you, we would have done nothing different, because we were doing exactly what we were trained to do, exactly what we believed was correct. And sometimes fucking shit happens. So, but the fact that your old lady puts it up on the fucking wall, like, that's something that, like, my wife would do. Like, good fucking women are good fucking women.
Right.
And I strongly believe, and unfortunately, with us firemen, you typically don't find a good one till the second or the third, right? Hopefully the second. But it's like, when you find them, fucking hold on to them.
Right.
Because...
And sometimes the good one is the first one and the second one, right? But we're the pieces of shit.
You're 100% correct.
Because we're good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's not every time, right? There's 2 sides, 3 sides to every story, right? There's one side, there's 2 sides, and there's the truth that's somewhere in the middle. And only you and that other person truly know what the truth is. But the guys that I've found that have had successful marriages after the first one or the second one have been able to admit, I was kind of a dumpster fire.
Yep.
And lucky for me,
at times. Yep.
Lucky for me, mine has decided to stick out the dumpster fires, because there's been more than one.
Yeah.
There's been more than one. And I've had to learn to get the coping mechanisms so that I don't turn into another dumpster fire. But those pictures on the wall and being able to come home every day and do the things that obviously I wouldn't get to do if I was dead. I mean, those are big reasons for me not to try not to be a dumpster fire all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, you take for granted things like hugging your kids before you leave for work or kissing your wife, right? And then you're in the attic and you don't know if you're going home, and you're trying to remember, did I kiss her before I left? When's the last time I gave her a hug, right? Like, something so small yet so meaningful that could be their last memory of you. So, don't take that time for granted, because even with me, right? Just because I lived through this incident once does not mean it can't happen again on Saturday when I go back to work. And it doesn't mean that won't be the last time that I see my dog and my kids and my wife and my house and never come back. So I'm lucky in the sense that I've had this catalyst to remind me to do those things. Even if I'm upset, even if we argued, even if I'm tired, even if I don't want to wake her up, right? Like, don't leave for work and not at least kiss your wife on the forehead. Even if she kicks you in the nuts on the way out, like, do it. Do it. because it might be the last time. For me, right, like I knew being up in that attic and the things that are going through my head, like for the most part, I never came to terms with what could have potentially happened. I was never okay with dying. I was never at peace with it. I was going out swinging, and I was going out swinging to come back to them and to come back to the guys and to come back to the life that we've all worked so hard to get. And now that you've gone through it, don't stop swinging now, right? Like the fight is not over. And as long as you're in this job, the fight is not going to be over. It's a fight every day. Maybe not, the 12th round with the 10 seconds and the bell coming, but it's still going to be a fight. And for the people that are listening to this that are just getting into their career, your fight just started, and you're going to have to fight, man. And it's not just fighting fire and all the things, the cool things that we do. It's going to be fighting demons and fighting yourself and fighting thoughts and fighting memories. Like you think we can do all these things by ourselves, but you need a support system. My support system is my wife and kids and you and the guys at the station. And I have a big support system, but it doesn't have to be. It can be one person. It can be a therapist. It can be one guy at the station. It can be your best friend from wherever, right? But like, find that person and confide in them and tell them how you're feeling, because even though that person may not understand what you did or what you saw to get to that point in your head, everybody understands once you're in your head that there's ways to get out of it. So, just be vocal and talk about it, and don't ever give up on yourself, ever. I think that we've all lost people for whatever reason that felt like, leaving was the only way out. And, we all sit back and think, is there a way that we could have prevented that? Did I miss something, right? Even I haven't talked to the guy in 6 years. Did I miss something? Obviously, one, it's not our fault, and I think we all know that. But, don't let your buddy have to have those thoughts about you, right? Talk about the shit, and we'll work through it together. And nobody listening to this, aside from you and maybe the select people who do know me, will know me. But if you need somebody to talk to and you don't know who to go to, shit, call me. I'll talk to you. I'll talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. If it means that you're going to be here for another day, I will talk to you. Because, these instances that you've lived through, that I've lived through, that some of these other guys have lived through, sometimes that's where the fork in the road leads. And, nobody knows why it leads there. But it's not you don't need to take that road. Don't take that path. Let somebody try to help. Say the hard things, talk about it. It sucks, man. This job will wear us down to a nub of what we used to be. But we're still that person. We're still who we are. If you're good at it and you do it long enough, like I said, you're going to get worn down. You're not going to be the shiny diamond or penny or whatever anymore. You're going to be this weird oblong shaped, dusty, beat up thing. But that's the payoff, right? It's like the I don't know if it's the Rescue Me episode where Tommy Gavin's talking to the Rock, or if it's the actual real one. But basically at the end of it, he says someone's going to ask you when you're old and you're slow, what did you do with your life?
Yep.
Obviously, the speech says you're going to say I was an FDNY fireman, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you're not.
Goddamn fireman, and that's going to be enough. Yep.
Right. Maybe you're not. And maybe that's not what you say. When they ask you what you did with your life, maybe what you say is, I worked through my demons.
Yeah.
I stayed. Right? I got better. I progressed. I took one step, and then I took another step, and then I took another step. And if that's what your answer is, that's enough. That's enough.
Yeah. I fucking love that quote, right? It is, hey, when you're old and you're weak, right? And you're frail, what are they going to say about you when you used to be strong, right? And go through the whole thing. And you said, and again, that was I was a FDNY fireman. But it's so true on so many different levels. But I was gonna ask you, and it's crazy because we're like on the same thing. I'm just gonna say, like, hey, what do you tell the guy coming up, like how to deal with this? And you answered it. But so I'm gonna give you a follow-up question instead, since you answered what I want to ask you. So again, that new guy, right? He knows he's getting into the shit for the next 25 fucking years on what we're not supposed to be exposed to as a human. So you already said, like, hey, how do you deal with it? But why is it fucking worth it, man? Why? Why would somebody tell the audience your opinion? Why would you go through 25 years of that and the chance of you going exactly what happened to you? And again, like you said, Saturday could fucking happen again. It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody listening to you. Any given Sunday, we always say it, right? Why? Why the fuck do you want to do this goddamn job with that kind of risk and that kind of mental exposure?
So had we done this show a week ago, I don't think I'd have the same answer for you.
Okay.
But my answer for you is going to be that last week it was either dress up as your future self or something. I think it was dress up as your future self at the high school for my son, right? And he went into the garage and he pulled out my old helmet from Engine 23 and he wore it all day. All day at school, never took it off.
Yep.
Wore it in the car, wore it around the house. And when we went to pick him up from school, he was still wearing it.
How old?
And he's 14. So he's at school and his friends are like, oh man, that's so cool. Who's, your dad's a fireman, all these things, right? Which is cool for him. But that's my why, right? To understand that I did not follow the path of my family as far as, they're all aerospace engineers and corporate and, very wealthy and did well for themselves, right? I didn't go down that path. And the path that I chose has cost me a lot. But to understand that everything I've been through and all the things I've done and the tired days and the short fuse days and the I don't want to go throw a baseball days or, I'm just not in it days do not outshine the fact that I have done something with my life that my son is proud enough of me to wear that helmet at school. That's my why. And also, you might go through your whole career and only save one person, right? But that'll be the one you hang your hat on. That one, you'll remember it for the rest of your life. The opportunity to be a part of a team that can say that that person was not alive and now they are, and they've gone on to lead a full life, that will be their why, maybe. So, 20 years in EMS, and I think I'm at 17, 18 as a paramedic. I've had quite a few where I can say, yeah, man, we saved that person's life. But there's one that if my career ended today, I would hang my hat on that one. And 10-year-old girl shot in the face. If I did not do what I did, and I don't say this frequently, nor do I say it lightly at all, because it is always a team effort. That's why we work in groups of 4. Being the only paramedic in the ambulance and the only paramedic on scene, the things that I did saved that girl's life to where she walked out of the hospital less than a month later with 0 deficits. And she's now, I think she's probably a freshman in high school now. She's got to be close. And to understand that she would not be there if I didn't do the things I did, if I wasn't in that spot, if I didn't choose to go through all the horrible things that I have gone through up to that point in my career, she may not be alive. So if nothing else ever happened in my career that was worth putting on a piece of paper, that's my one. That's my worth it. And it only takes one. You will make 100 cardiac arrests and not one of them will make it, and you will think that you're the worst EMT and paramedic and firefighter, and you'll hate yourself. But I promise you, when you get that one, when you make that one difference, that will be your why. Stick it out to get to your why, because it's worth it. It makes it all worth it. It makes the dumpster fires worth it, and it.
Yeah, dude, you're right. You're right. And the crazy thing, I just want to piggyback off what you're saying, because it's happened to me once or twice and I was oblivious to it. You could have your one or maybe your two and you'll even know it, because it was, you're at the grocery store and you guys are fucking shopping for chow, and a kid comes up to you and you're in a good mood that day and you're like, hey buddy, come with me. Let's go check out the truck. And 20 years later, he's a fucking fireman because of Cody Miller, Steve Orsini, whatever the case might be. But he doesn't even fucking know your name. There's probably so many fucking whys to this job that we'll never know. But, you know, we tell guys, hey, when we're done, the truck still goes out the bay. There's still a fucking, an ass in that seat, and it's the next guy up. But, dude, you hit it on the fucking head. It's like, what's a why? There's so many fucking whys, but more importantly, I really want to hopefully drive home to the guys that are still listening. There's probably a lot of whys because you're a good dude and you'll never fucking know him. But whoever that little Billy will, because he's like,
Right.
hey man, I met a Memphis fireman, whoever it is, right? And that's why I decided to get my shit together, go to college, become a fireman, become a lawyer, whatever it was, you know, but because we had a fucking impact because of the Maltese cross
Right.
on her chest. You know, it didn't matter. Like they didn't know that it was Cody or Steve. They saw that.
Right.
And that was enough. Right. And like we said with that quote, like, hey, what's going to be enough? Because I was a fireman. That was because
Right.
it was enough. Right. And I hope that sinks in with people, you know?
Yeah. You know, we're part of our career choice is such that we are part of this thing that we don't appreciate it.
You're right.
You know, we don't. You go to Australia, you go to Europe, you go wherever, and a fireman there finds out that you're a fireman here in the US, and you're in. You're accepted. And it's the same when they come to us, right? We're accepted. I don't know anybody in New York, but I bet if I walked up to a firehouse and knocked on the door and said, hey, this is my name, this is who I am, this is what I do for a living, they would accept me and my family with not a bat in an eye.
Yep.
But in the same breath, we do that for anybody who comes and knocks on our door and wants to see the firehouse. That's why we have this quote unquote pedestal that we're on, because people want to see what we do. And that's no discredit to people who don't do this job, but like, I'm not knocking on the door of AT&T asking to see the wires, you know? And maybe you're into that kind of stuff, and that's okay, but like, I don't get it, you know? But I mean, you know, the why is specific to each individual. Like, I can't tell you what your why is. I can tell you what mine is. I can tell you that it took a really long time to find it, but I can tell you that when I found it, I've held on to it since I found it. And, you know, again, if you stay in it long enough, you'll find your why, and it will get you through the downs for sure. It will definitely be that light that gets you through the dark times.
I had Battalion Chief Joe Shavak. He was probably a couple episodes before this one. And he had said his dad was an accountant. He goes, we go on road trips. We never went to any other accounting firms to check them out. He goes, we, as in his family, he goes, when we go somewhere, if there's a firehouse, we'll stop by and say hi. He goes, he's like, we'll go to Europe. He's like, and they find out, it's funny that you said Europe or whatever. It's like, they find out you're an American firefighter, like American Fire Service. He goes, that holds a lot of teeth across the world, because we do things that most firemen outside of the United States do not even consider. And I take, and I know you take, great fucking pride in that, because it does take a special person. Not that we are special, but we are a cog in the wheel of a fucking bigger system that means a lot to us, to America, everything else. So, dude, I love it. It fucking means things. And again, like you said, we've talked, just had a guy the other episode on in Chicago, and like all these guys I meet, once we discover we're firemen, and then once it usually takes about less than 5 minutes. Once you figure out you're one of the boys, we're halfway across the country from each other, but we'd be fucking hanging out smoking stogies if we were
Right.
next door neighbors.
Right.
But the thing that immediately connects us is that we're goddamn firemen, right? And American firemen. So it is the greatest job in the world, the greatest profession, the most insane calling. And that's like the passion and everything else we try to instill in the young guys. But what would you want to leave the audience with? Because we've been talking for a while on the mental health side, but what do you want to leave the guys with? Like, hey, man, the job takes a toll, even if they never had, and I hope to God, they never had the experience that you had to go through. But what do you tell the guys that hit that experience? So, hey, dude, you hit that at 8 years on the job in Memphis. Granted, you have almost 18 or 19 years in the service. But what do you tell the guy that hits that point, say right around the 10-year mark, either a shitty ass call, a near death experience or whatever? What do you tell that guy to keep them going? Because it is important what we do, you know, the service we provide, but more importantly, how do you protect the dude, you know, the Cody, the Steve, strip away the fucking bugles, strip away the Maltese cross, strip away all the other bullshit. Like, what do you tell the dude so he can go home to his wife, his kids, mom, dad, dog, whatever, and be a good dude or not be an asshole? You know, like we always joke around, like, I'm going to go home, I'm going to kick the dog and beat my wife because I'm pissed off.
Right.
Obviously a joke. But seriously, what do you tell the guy to keep him going for another 15 years? Because that's a lot. You know, he's already done 10. Like, what do you tell that guy?
So I'm a big believer in, you know, one, you've got to read the person you're talking to. And, you know, sometimes you know that person really well and sometimes you don't. You know, typically if somebody's confiding in you, you probably know them okay. I will never talk somebody out of doing something that they genuinely think is best for them. But, you know, when people come to me and ask, you know, I'm thinking about getting out of the fire service, I'm thinking about changing jobs or whatever, right? Okay, that's fine if that's what you want. Is that what you want? And you know, if you come to that crossroads in your career, think about how that trickles throughout the rest of your life. So, like I said, the thought of not being in the firehouse anymore was more painful to me than having to work through getting back on the roof. If the cost benefit to you is not that, you do what you got to do for you. But make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, right? Don't run away from something. Don't run from the trauma. Don't run from the bad calls. Don't run from the experience because you're not going to outrun it. You might outrun it at first, but I promise you it's going to catch up. It always does. So deal with it, work through it, hit it head on, man. Grab the proverbial bull by the horns, whatever analogy you want. If at the end of writing things down, this is why I should stay, this is why I should leave, this is why I shouldn't be mad, this is why I should. If the list of cons of staying is bigger than the list of pros, if that's what is best for you, quitting when you're ahead is not the same as quitting. Quitting to save yourself is not the same as quitting. Quitting because you're scared of dealing with it, quitting because you don't want to admit that it happened or that you had a problem, that is quitting. Quitting without accountability is quitting. Quitting when you say, I've had enough, or I can't do it again, or I'm not strong enough, that's not quitting. That's being honest. And if your honesty tells you that you got to go, how can I help? What do you need me to do? You need me to pack your bags? You want to? Who can I call? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you know, for me, the list of cons was like there was like one, and I think it was like it's going to be hard. I mean, you know, being active is hard and being stagnant is hard. Choose your hard, right? Yeah. You know, going back to work is hard and having to find a new job is hard. Choose your hard. You know, for me, it would have been harder for me to try to explain to my kids why I quit and walked away. And it would have been harder to look myself in the mirror every day knowing that I wasn't strong enough to overcome this with this gigantic support system I have behind me than it would have been to say, all right, you all need to grab the bootstraps and pull them up. I need your help. I need you to push me through this, you know? And that's exactly what they've all done. So to 10-minute guy to the 10-year guy to the guy who's retiring tomorrow, you come to me with that question, my first question is going to be, is that what you want? And if that is truly what you want in your heart, if you know that that's what's best for you, then I support it. But if you're running from something, don't run. Don't hide from it. It's going to find you. It's going to catch you. You're going to find you, and you're going to catch you, because you're only running from yourself. You know what I mean? You can't outrun yourself. I've tried. It doesn't work.
I've tried too. Yeah, you're right. I agree wholeheartedly. It doesn't work. It works for a tiny little bit.
Right. Obviously there's the vices that we all turn to, to each their own. I don't judge for however anybody lives their life away from work or what you choose to do. But again, if those vices start to become a habit, down in a 30 pack on the way home from work, that's not a habit, brother. That's a problem. And
I just want to show you real quick. I'm sorry. This is one of my wives right here. This little girl.
Hey, girl.
Can you say hi?
Hi.
That's Cody. Hi. All right. Sorry. She was just walking by. I just wanted to say hi real quick.
Somebody listening to this, I said what I just said, right? And I said what I said. Somebody's going to hear that and they're going to get offended. And I'm also going to say this. If what I just said offends you, you got a problem, brother. And that's okay. Talk to somebody about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't know a person in the world that can, kill a 30 pack in less than 24 hours that doesn't have a problem.
Yeah.
I
used to be that guy.
I
used to be that guy for sure.
I've never had that problem. I've never dealt with that. My family members have. I've been lucky that I've been able to not have that in my wiring. But this job pushes people to get wired differently, and it could happen overnight. So, if you think you're one of those people that is dealing with it and that's the way you're dealing with it, you're running. Don't run. Don't run anymore. I'm not ever going to tell a guy to quit drinking or quit doing whatever you do, right? But you know yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many times do we tell people, you know yourself better than I know you. If you think you need to go to the hospital, then let's go. Right? So if you're one of those people, I urge you, just start being honest and reach out to me or whoever, right? Like, I'll talk about it. I'm not going to tell you to quit doing what you're doing. I might ask you why you do what you do. And if you just like it, well then, hey, have at it, Hoss. But, maybe we can figure some stuff out.
Dude, I love it. So first of all, thank you for coming on again. But more importantly, thank you for talking about the hardest part. And the hardest part is not what you went through. The hardest part was the aftermath after, with trying to get over that. I get it. I understand it. I know what you're feeling like in a smaller version. But
sure.
Yeah, like, dude, I love what you're saying because, and correct me if I misunderstood, for the guy, right? For the man's man, right? The alpha that doesn't want to seek help. If I understood you correctly, or at least that's the way I'm taking it, is you want to be a man and you want to be strong, then seek help. Right. Talk to one of the brothers. If you don't feel comfortable talking to a brother or your wife or whatever, seek professional help, or at least get that conversation going. Because again, the worst thing you can do, the worst thing is what you're thinking about, or whatever the case might be, either quitting, leaving, or God forbid, even worse. That's what hurts the majority of the people the most, because your brothers want to help you, even if they're fucking assholes. They're assholes because they love you. Right? Remember that part of the job, right? If they don't love you, they're not assholes, then you probably don't want to talk to them. But in all joking aside, like, dude, I love what you're preaching. I am excited to see where you take your story in the future. And I am honored that I was able to help share your story, even in the smallest little way. And I'm thankful that you're willing to talk about it. Is there anything else you kind of want to leave the audience with? You dropped so much before you sign off, dude.
Thank you for even giving me the chance and wanting to share the story and let me talk for as much as you've let me talk and listen and just kind of go back and forth. To everybody listening out there, maybe I'm boring, maybe I'm not, maybe you got something out of it, maybe you didn't. Thanks for listening anyways. I think that this is a part of the job that we need to focus on more. And departments and cities and companies, whatever organizations, have done a lot better of bringing mental health to the forefront, but we are not even close to where we need to be with, helping guys. I mean, real quick on a different note, the retirees, I can't even imagine what guys that yesterday they were doing this job and now today they're not. That the mental anguish that takes on you. I get to go back to work on Saturday, and I notice I said I don't have to go to work on Saturday. I get to go to work.
Yeah.
Right? We get to do this job.
Mm-hmm.
So, just understand that mental health is a thing. Your brain and the things that you think are just as important as taking care of as your heart and your lungs, and not being a big gigantic slob. Like, your head is just as important. So I hope that's what people got out of it. That's my goal anyways. So again, thank you, Steve, for even just bringing me on and bringing me back. I've really enjoyed it. And obviously we'll keep in touch.
I have too, for sure. So again, like I said, please, if you need to reach out to Cody, reach out to him. I will put any link that he wants in the bio of ways to access him through email or social media. But again, look for him in the future, because I know for a fact he's going to be doing great things. We've already kind of talked in the background of maybe future possibilities, but I'm telling you what, guys like him that been through the shit, been doing this job for a fucking long ass time, take something from it. Mental health is fucking important, and I'm a prime example. I believed it wasn't an issue for a long time until I couldn't hold it in anymore. So don't let it ruin your life. This is the best fucking job, career, calling in the entire goddamn world. And like Cody said, we are privileged to serve the citizens, fight fire, and make a fucking difference. So with all that said, thank you, my brother, again, for sitting down with me for round 2. Hopefully in a couple of years, we're sitting down for round 3, right? When you're a fucking officer or a fucking command officer, right? Go from there. Or even better, you're still a salty ass fucking engineer, which would be even cooler. But again, my brother, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. We'll catch you in another 2 weeks. Thank you, brother.
Been an honor.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back in another 2 weeks. Remember to like, share, review if you can. Helps drive traffic to our podcast. Remember, let's leave our ego out of the fire service. It's amazing what we can accomplish when no one's looking for credit. Much love. Let's stop eating our own and become better firemen. Catch you next time.